You know, people want to blame the mirror, but not the reflection looking back at them. Why? This is them. Oh, blame the libtards, or blame the transgender athletes in sports. Oh, blame the brown people, blame the black people, blame them for my shitty life, you know? And that's what it is. Schadenfreude. You delight in the suffering of others as long as you get what's out of it, not the people. That's what it is. A a Yuji Itadori cosplayer beating the ever living shit out of a child molester at an anime convention, doing no research, by the way, no decoys, by the way, but yet 80% of people were triggered because of someone that knows how to actually be a vigilante. These predator catchers were triggered because of a Yuji Itadori cosplayer literally doing their job for them. Literally. I had one on my stream. I had one person on my stream. I'm not going to mention his name and I'm not going to. But he literally said, "Oh, pedophiles can't be in politics." And I told him, "Where were you when Alex Preddy died?" And another issue is, I even told him, "You want to know what the Yuji Itadori cosplayer did? He literally beat up a pedophile. He literally beat him up." And that's when he got triggered. He got triggered and mad because he didn't like of how it was his version of being a vigilante, because he didn't like how it went not in his way, you know? And that's why we're here. When you can convince the lowest white man who's a president who rapes children, when the lowest white man can convince you he is an adjudicated rapist in the White House, he won't notice you. You won't notice him pickpacking your wallet and everything else. Donald Trump, an adjudicated rapist, is literally using our tax dollars to post a UFC fight, and all you could do is blame other people. All you could do is dehumanize people. Like, I just had one on, like, I had a person on my stream trying to rage bait me and dehumanize me. And I debated with him. I said, "Okay, pedos can be into politics. Okay, cool. Let's roll with that. Where were you when Alex Preddy died? Where were you? Where were you when Alex Preddy died?" I asked him that question, and he tried to avoid it because he didn't want to admit to his complicity. He didn't want to admit to his silence, that he wasn't there outside protesting. This is literally the same cycle as David Kaepernick. When a Yuji Itadori cosplayer beats up the ever living shit out of the pedophile, they call him out as a son of a bitch because he is not doing what their version of a vigilante is doing. I am going to stand before God with popcorn, and I'm going to laugh at every single wicked person that says, "Yes, Lord, I own the libs. You know, I helped Eugene Carroll. I helped Katie Johnson. I did beat up a pedophile at an anime convention." Then he points to the 14 million kids that go to school hungry. And then he says, "What about their lives?" Did you care about them? What about Alex Petty's lives? What about Eugene Carroll's life? Why is she up here next to me? And why did she tell me that you did not talk about her in your name? In my name, actually. You can go right with the goats. The hand of disappointment. Faith without works is dead. And that Yuji Itadori cosplayer is more of a Christian than anybody would ever be. Because why? Because one, he does the dirty work. He gives belt to ass to these pedophiles. But you don't like it, right? Because that's not how your way of being a vigilante works. So you rather blame him for your shitty life. Okay, cool. Roll with that. Then, soon as I posted the video about a Yuji Itadori cosplayer saying, I wonder, why are more people doing this instead of sitting behind a camera and talking about shit? Immediately left. Did not want to waste his time, did not want to waste his energy. Because all he does is rage bait. All he does. Hey, much power to him. Hey, no shade to him. All I'm going to say is, hey, let him keep doing him. I'm going to keep talking about politics because I actually give a damn about the people, not about the country. Want to lower the cases of rape? Literally beat up these pedophiles up. That is my solution. Beat them up until either dead or unconscious. Beat them up. Want to lower the cases of active shooter drills? Oh, waiting periods, or I know, background checks. Maybe that'll help gun reform. But 77 million people would rather ignore those requests and play, that's just not my problem in the fucking voting booth because they don't give a damn. But I do. Look at my videos. Look at my live streams. Every single time I make a live stream, I mention Alex Preddy, I mention Renee Good, and I mention Breonna Taylor, a black woman. Why? Because I give a damn about their lives. Because why? Because their lives are important for me to say their names on stream because I actually care. I actually give a damn. But you don't. You're a Schadenfreude. And that's a German word for the feeling of joy from the suffering of others. See, imagine a predator catcher standing before God, right? Imagine a predator catcher standing before God. Hey, no shame. No shame. Much power to y'all. You keep doing your thing, but imagine they stand before God one day. And then they said, yes, I made expose videos. I did all of that. I had to do everything that I can to expose these predators. God immediately points you to Alex Preddy. What about his life? What about him on your page? What about spreading awareness about his death? What about spreading awareness about Renee Good's death? What about spreading awareness about, I don't know, the 14 million kids that go to school hungry? What about their lives? Oh, that's right. I looked through your history. Because I have the authority to do so. I looked through your history. Not a single damn thing. Not a single one. You could go right with the goats. And then that's when the predator catcher is going to say, but God, nothing. Faith without works is dead. That's all this is. Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is not vigilantism. A Yuji Itadori cosplayer triggers 80% of these pedophile catchers because that is not how their version of being a vigilante works. Why do you think predator catchers sit behind a camera, do research, and make expose videos about them? What does YouTube run off of? Money. Quite simply, money. But God, I exposed these predators. Listen, I cared about the people. I cared about the 14 million kids going to school hungry. I did care about Alex Play. I did care about Renee Good. No, you didn't. You cared about the content, not the platform. You cared about the money it brings, not the value of a person's life. And that's what's going to happen on Judgment Day. God is going to look at every person's heart, not through their actions, but through their faith. He's going to look at every single action that you did from birth up till now. And they're going to see that their content was only manufacturing money, not lives. Because they don't give a damn. But God, I own the libs. I talked about Alex Pretty on my page. I did all of that. No, you didn't. Because you didn't want your fan base to look upset. That's the reason why. Money, not the lives. These people's lives had more value than money was ever printed in the fucking 1800s. These people had more value because they know what the fuck is wrong with this country. But you rather sit behind in your complicity and ignore it. And it has been that way since 1619. People have been ignoring black people being lynched on trees. People have been ignoring the Black fucking Death. People have been ignoring the Boston Tea Party. People have been ignoring the Civil War, the Cold War, the Chinese War. People have been ignoring the Holocaust. Not a single damn word, right? We will not remember the voices of our enemies, but no, we will not remember the voices of our allies, but rather listen to the voices of our enemies. We will not listen to the voice of Kamala Harris, but rather listen to the voice of Donald J. Trump because you all thought that it was a good idea to listen to the voice of a dumbass and an adjudicated rapist in the White House, right? Y'all thought it was better for white supremacy than it is for a woman with an actual plan to prosper the land of the United States, right? That's what this is. Donald Trump did not run on the economy. He ran on white supremacy. He ran on Hitler and Benito Mussolini. He ran on Hitler and Benito Mussolini because he did not care about anybody else other than himself. And he claims to be Christian. He's not Christian. He's a modern day Pharisee. 77 million people voted for this fascist. So you know what? I'm going to give them the same bullshit that they're going to give to God. But God, I own the libs. I'm going to say to you, but I cared about Alex Perry. What about you? I cared about Renee Good. I'm going to give them the same bullshit as that one song. Oh, your house isn't redlined? Oh, I'm sorry, that's not my problem, right? I'm gonna get the same bullshit to you as you did to many of these people. Mind you, 77 million people of this country would rather have an adjudicated rapist in the White House who pardons child molesters, one who actively assaulted a fucking 7-year-old. A fucking 7-year-old. Named Theodore Middendorf. Donald Trump pardoned Theodore Middendorf for assaulting a 7-year-old. This is Donald Trump's advertisement. Well, we're having a fight in a UFC fight outside of the lawn of, I don't know, the White House. So if you want to, come support me and Melania Trump, my beloved wife, as we watch two half-naked men battle out each other, please give us your tax dollars because it'll be beneficial for the UFC fight, that it'll be beneficial for the country. And that's his advertisement. That's his advertisement. Donald Trump is using your tax dollars to pay for the UFC fight. Ladies and gentlemen, your president of the fucking divided states of America. People would want to blame the mirror, not the reflection looking back at them. I looked at my mirror today and I blamed the reflection looking back at me. Because why? Because I actually give a fuck. I actually care. I don't want to blame the mirror as a whole. I'd rather blame the reflection. Because I actually give a fuck. Immediately. The moment when a predator catcher sees a video of a Yuji Itadori cosplayer giving Belta ads to these child molesters with no research, with no decoys, with no alt accounts, they get triggered because it is not how their version of being a vigilante works. They don't want to do it behind the camera no more. They'd rather go out and confront the pedo and beat his ass. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. And it's sad. But hey, haters gonna hate. Trolls gonna be trolling. They gonna be wasting their breath. Because they have nothing better to do than in their lives than to blame the brown people, blame the transgenders, blame the gays, blame the lesbians for their own shitty lives, blame them for their own shitty lives. But what about themselves? What about the 14 million kids? What about them? What about their lives? Do they have value to you? No, because you don't care. You don't give a fuck. The reason why Damien is upset with me and is scared at me, no, he's afraid of me, is because he knows that I would get his fucking hands. I would beat his ass up if he ever came down to where the fuck I live. Because I actually give a fuck. I told Damien plenty of fucking times, who is also known as Miguel Miranda, by the way. I told him, come to where I'm at and get this ass whooping if you say you are a man. The man don't want to fly over here because he's scared of a white minority who is actually a predator poacher. A predator poacher, not a predator catcher. I don't do no decoys. I don't do no research. I don't do none of that shit. I don't waste my breath. I actually get straight to the point, up in arms, and beat his ass. Plain and fucking simple. Want to lower the cases of rape? Bring back the guillotine. That's my solution. Bring back the guillotine and use it for the worst of the worst. Mark chapter 9, verse 42. For whosoever defiles these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it will be better for him if a great millstone were hung about their necks and was casted into the sea. That's what I would have done. I would have brought back Mark chapter 9, verse 42 and used it for pedophiles, for rapists, for child assaulters, and many more. I would have used it because I actually give a damn. See, there's a difference between you and I. You say you believe in God. Good. The devil believes in God. What? Now you're cursing me to everlasting torture all because I said the truth? You claimed, mind you, Kitty Paquita is like this too. She claims to be Christian. She claims to be the hero of the internet. Okay, good. Satan is also the hero of the internet. Satan is also a Christian. You have a lot in common with Satan than you have with God. Both of you believe in God, yet neither one of you follow him. Faith without works is dead. It is. It is. The reason why I keep talking about Alex Preddy and giving my condolences to them and spreading awareness about them is because I actually give a fuck about them. I treat Alex Preddy as if she was my own mom. I treat Alex Preddy as if he was my own father. I treat Renee Good as if she was my own mom. I treat Breonna Taylor, a black woman, by the way, as a music teacher that I never had in school. They have more value because their lives matter. You want to know what Renee Good's last moments were? I don't care. I'm not mad at you. She wasn't mad at ICE. But what happened after? They shot her. And you know what the leader of ICE, Jonathan Ross, said? Stupid bitch. That's what he said. And people just ignored it. And I saw many people with their phones out saying, "Oh, what is wrong with you?" Da, 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 da. Instead of beating the ever-living shit out of ICE because they rather have content, not the platform, which is Renee Good. They'd rather have money, not the lives that have more value. That's why I keep doing this. That's why I keep talking about Alex Preddy and Renee Good, because I give a damn about them, because they are my neighbors. Love thy neighbor as thyself. I love them as if they were my neighbors. But you don't. You just want to dehumanize people. You want to sit on your butt and rage bait people behind a screen while a UGE Tadori cosplayer triggers you because that's not how your version of being a vigilante works. Until somebody has this damn conversation, ain't nothing gonna change. Unless people start actually putting effort to lowering the cases of rape and the cases of gun violence, ain't nothing going to change. 96% of what? White men promote gun violence. 96% of white men promote gun violence. 56% of this country are women. 50% of this country was women. All of it are women. The east side had more women, and the west side had more women. We're just in the middle. Why? Because we don't give a damn. Because we choose to ignore the voices of our allies, but listen to the voices of our enemies. We chose to ignore the voice of Michelle Obama when she said, if you think the darkness is coming at your door, is not coming at your door, you are sadly mistaken. 2016. What demographic went to God and asked God for an earthly king? White people. Which demographic went to God again and asked God, can I have an earthly king? In 20. Predominantly white men. Which demographic in 2024 went to God one final time and said, let me have an earthly king? You guessed it, white men. You see a trend? You see a trend? I sure do. White America, white Africa, white New York, white Nevada, white Colorado, white Pennsylvania, white. Not about the red or blue. Only the white. And that's why we're here. Just because a Yuji Itadori cosplayer did your job that you failed to start, you get mad because that's not how your version of being a vigilante works. That's an issue. Like, that, I'm sorry, like, are you mad because of the Yuji Itadori cosplayer giving belt to ass? Are you mad because there's more people doing this than sitting behind a camera? Are you mad because of that? Yes, you are. Because you want to sit behind and watch many people die. You want to deploy screenshots. You want to deploy decoys and all that other shit just to prove a point. But yet a Yuji Itadori cosplayer giving belt to ass to child predators is a bridge too far, right? There are people in the fucking comment section giving praise to the Itadori cosplayer because he is the hero of the internet and the anime convention. But you know what happened? He got arrested for assault and public nuisance. And you want to know what the pedophile got? Fucking compensation. By the way, that's what's happening in our United States. A adjudicated rapist in the White House, in who 77 million people voted for, by the way. An adjudicated rapist in the White House is pardoning, actively protecting child rapists and child murderers and child assaulters, all in the name of Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump is actively protecting child molesters because he doesn't give a damn about their value. He gives a damn about himself. He doesn't love his neighbor. He claims to know God, but he doesn't follow him. He has a lot in common with Satan than he has with God. Both of them believe in God, yet neither one of them follow him. This is why we are here as a country. People would rather be, smart and have researchers and all that other stuff, but yet not be more smart to go down to a pedophile and beat his ass until either dead or unconscious. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. Because predator catchers would ignore while the predator poachers would listen. And that's the difference. Predator catchers would blame the mirror. No, predator catchers would blame the mirror, but predator poachers would blame the reflection. Predator poachers would give a damn about Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and call and go out and actually give physical confrontation than rather sitting behind a camera and giving research and decoys because they want to be the white victim. They want to be the victim. And it's true. It's true. It's literally true. All because a Yuji Itadori cosplayer is doing your job that you obviously don't want to do. You get triggered and call him out as a son of a bitch because that's not how your version of being a vigilante works. That's it. So, if America falls, which I highly doubt it will, if it falls and democracy is no more, when we stand before God, when all of us stand before God, and all predator catchers and people like singers and all that other stuff, when they stand before God, right? When we all stand before God, guess what's gonna happen? He is going to divide one from the sheeps and from the goats. One that cares about the people, not about the country, and one that cares about the country, not about the people. And he's going to say to them, why? Wait. And he's going to say to them, well done, my faithful servant, for you cared about my life as well as you cared about the lives of others, even those that have died before you, by gun violence, military spending, and concentration camps. But you people, on the other hand, you didn't care about my life when the people before you died. You never spread awareness about them on your pages, so you can go right with the goats. And that's exactly what's going to happen on Judgment Day. God is going to have a field day with everybody, and he's going to be asking. Mind you, I don't have the authority to know what God is going to ask, but all I can say is this. Where were you when Alex Preddy got shot? And he's going to point to Alex Preddy and ask him, where was he in your page? Where was he in your Facebook posts? Where was he in your comment section? Where was he in your YouTube posts? Where was he in your YouTube live streams? Where was he? In as so much as you did not do to the least of these, you did not do it to me. I'll say it again. In as so much as you did not do to the least of these, you did not do it to me. So you did not post Alex Preddy or Renee Good or Breonna Taylor on your streams. So that means you didn't post me. And that's what's going to happen on Judgment Day. God is going to have a field day. He's going to have a literal 8-course meal. He's going to literally ask us, where were we when Alex Preddy was alive, when Renee Good was alive, when they were getting shot by ICE? Where were we? Did we post them about their lives upon our pages? He's going to ask not about our faith, but what we did for Christ. In as so much as you did not do to the least of these, you did not do to me. The reason why I keep talking about Renee Good in his name, the reason why I keep talking about Alex Preddy in his name, the reason why I talk about Breonna Taylor in his name is because I care about their lives, not my own. Because unlike you, I'm not a schadenfreude. I'm not a schadenfreude. I give a fuck about these people because I treat them as if I love them as my neighbor, not as myself. So that's what's gonna happen. But America might event like when it falls. I'm just not gonna. I'm just gonna be like, hey, whose fault was that the economy went to shit? Whose fault was that? Whose fault was that? Whose fault was it that y'all voted for an adjudicated rapist in the White House? Whose fault was that? That voted for the Antichrist. Whose fault was that? Whose fault was that? Whose fault was that? Whose fault was that? Surely not God's. Surely not Jesus' fault, because it wasn't. It was your complicity and your silence. Your silence made Donald Trump win the election. And it's the same silence that made Jesus die on that cross. Faith without works is dead. So again, just because a Yuji Itadori cosplayer beats the ever-living shit out of a child molester instead of sitting behind a camera and, does all this research shit, you get mad because that's not how your version of being a vigilante works. And that's why we're here. You rather blame him because he's a son of a bitch, right? You rather call him out because he's a son of a bitch, right? You rather get mad that he's doing the job that you guys aren't even trying to do. So, when democracy falls, when the Antichrist system is ushered in, and I'm saying this not out of anger, but out of love, when the Antichrist is ushered in, when the mark of the beast is ushered in, don't blame God that the economy went down so bad that the mark of the beast has to be insured. Don't blame God for what happens. Blame yourself. Because you rather ignore the voices of your friends, but listen to the voices of your enemies. So, one day, if God willing, if I am to have popcorn on Judgment Day, and if God willing, if God is willing, I am going to literally eat every speck of popcorn that has a lie from out of your mouths. That you say, yes, God, I helped Eugene Carroll. I punched the ever-living shit out of Donald J. Trump. Oh, did you now? Where were you that day? Where were you that day? But God, I talked about Alex Preddy and Renee Good on my YouTube page. I talked about them. Oh, really? Where were you that day? You can go right with the goats. What? That's literally what's gonna happen. Even though, I don't have the authority to know what's gonna happen on Judgment Day. Like, I don't have the authority because I'm not God. Because I don't want to listen. I don't want to think that I'm surpassing them or anything, because that's blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. In case you're wondering, like, putting the Holy Spirit to evil is blasphemy. So, but I know. And I feel that that's what God is going to say. I feel it because that's what I feel that's what God is going to say. I don't think, I don't know. I feel that that's what God is going to say. I feel. Feeling is different from knowing. Feeling is different from knowing. Feeling is with emotion. Knowing is without emotion. So I don't know what God's going to say on Judgment Day, but I have a feeling that he's going to say those things. That he's going to say to the people, the wicked, why did you not talk about Alex Preddy or Renee Good on your page in my name if you say you loved me? My commandment was clear. Love thy neighbor as thyself. For you yourselves were born out of the bondage of Egypt. I feel he's going to say that. I feel like he's going to say that. I feel it. Because Jesus cares about Alex Purdy. Jesus cares about Renee Good. Jesus cares, brother. Jesus cares about their lives. You don't. Because you just want to be a schadenfreude. A person that delights on dehumanizing people than rather loving other people rather than yourself. And that's why we're here. So when democracy falls, don't blame God for what happened. Blame yourself. Have a good day.